てる。
おいおい、何やってるん？これは、ヤドンの尻尾じゃないか。
In 2016, the Pokemon Company released Detective Pikachu, a unique spin-off game for the Nintendo 3DS. Although the game ended up releasing in the West in 2018 towards the end of the console's life, I often wondered about the possibility of a sequel due to the unresolved ending of the plot. Years have passed and a movie adaptation was released, which made me begin to doubt the likelihood of a sequel. To my surprise, however, Nintendo unveiled Detective Pikachu Returns, a legitimate sequel for the Nintendo Switch. Naturally, I was intrigued by what sort of adventures Tim and Pikachu would embark on this time. Detective Pikachu Returns picks up its story 2 years after the conclusion of the original game. Once again, you assume the role of Tim Goodman, a rookie detective still determined to locate his missing father, Harry Goodman, alongside his talkative partner, Pikachu, or, pardon me, Detective Pikachu. Despite resolving the R incident, which involved a drug causing Pokemon to go berserk, mysterious incidences involving Pokemon continue to plague Ryme City. Tim embarks on another quest to solve these mysteries and, hopefully, this time, reunite with his father. If you haven't played the 3DS prequel, the game's prologue attempts to provide a quick recap of the events. However, this quickly falls apart as Detective Pikachu Returns immediately assumes you're at the very least familiar with the elements that the plot brought in the first entry. While this makes sense for a sequel, it somewhat diminishes the story's intended charm. Furthermore, the prologue recap lasts less than a minute, which, even as someone who played the original, I find simply insufficient to explain all of the events properly. Each of the cases requires you to explore crime scenes, collect evidence, and interact with both people and Pokemon by asking them questions and annotating their testimonies in a case notebook. Once you've gathered a sufficient amount of testimonies and evidence, the duo can advance the case through deductive reasoning by pairing the pieces they found together. In each chapter, exploration is limited to specific areas, although some chapters work around this limitation by switching between daytime and nighttime, which only really alternates the Pokemon wandering around and the people you can interact with. Furthermore, you can accept requests from people by speaking to anyone, whether a person or Pokemon, with a blue bubble over their heads. However, these requests are generally basic fetch quests that may not be worth pursuing if your primary focus is advancing the main story. You might learn about a Pokemon fact or two, but even the tutorial suggests you're free to ignore them. At the end of each chapter, you face a series of multiple choice questions, usually straightforward if you paid attention, though you can just press ZL for the log of the conversations. If you're stuck in an investigation, pressing left on the D-pad provides a hint, although I must say that this isn't very useful as it tends to repeat the objective already displayed on the top right of the screen. Additionally, there are puzzles where Pikachu rides on a Pokemon and uses their ability to advance the story. These puzzles range from stealth sequences to moving or destroying rocks to create a path forward. Similar to its predecessor, Detective Pikachu Returns is relatively short, with a playtime of approximately 10 hours for the main story, possibly even less if you ignore all the fetch quests. Considering its $50 price tag, this may deter some potential players. Furthermore, the title screen features a mode called Story Jump, allowing you to skip to any chapter in the main story. While this may be convenient for those who find certain chapters uninteresting or want to revisit previous episodes, it raises the question about why this feature is necessary in such a short game, especially as an option from the very beginning. The story contains moments of lighthearted humor and banter between Pikachu and Tim, but it also delves into darker themes involving the antagonists. This narrative seems more tailored towards a teenage audience, which does make sense. Nonetheless, the comedic elements occasionally make it difficult to take the plot seriously. This is further enhanced by the fact that you can be several steps ahead of Tim and Pikachu's deductions while they're still wondering who done it. I didn't find this bad per se, as it does become evident that this was intended for a younger audience in this case. Surprisingly, the game doesn't utilize any of the Switch's unique features, feeling like a missed opportunity. Even in handheld mode, you can't use the touchscreen to interact with anything in the game. Everything relies on a moving cursor with the gamepad and pressing A. This definitely breaks immersion in some cases, such as when you need to enter a numerical code but manually using the D-pad to input it, which is just strange. Graphically, Detective Pikachu Returns does feel somewhat outdated compared to other Nintendo Switch titles, leading me to believe that this game may have initially been developed for the Nintendo 3DS before being shifted to the Switch. This is evident in some elements of gameplay that seem better suited for the 3DS's dual screens than a single screen. Furthermore, the model's expressions are not always well defined, affecting the intended tone of certain cutscenes. While Detective Pikachu Returns is undeniably enjoyable, its only standout feature is its somewhat decent storyline, which ties up loose ends from the original 3DS game and provides moments of laughter as Tim and Pikachu interact with each other. However, it suffers from several issues, such as the somewhat dated graphics from this day and age, a short playtime, and very low difficulty. Nevertheless, it's a game I'd recommend on sale, allowing you to comfortably unwind in bed while enjoying Pikachu and Tim's misadventures in Ryme City. Noisy Pixel is giving Detective Pikachu Returns a 6.5 out of 10. Thanks for watching. This video is brought to you by our supporters on Patreon. Noisy Pixel is run by a group of gamers providing independent gaming coverage through news, reviews, previews, and more. Check out our Patreon to help support our continued growth, and subscribe to keep up with all our future content.
Noisy Pixel.